Then we finished up with the OT after about a year and a bit, maybe not quite a year and a half, but we finished up with the OT and we were moving. And so he was doing quite well, and I was sort of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I was like, you know, maybe I'll be able to go back to work now. And in the process of moving, he got a bit of a virus. Now, he'd had colds and stuff before that hadn't really phased him. Like, they'd put him off his food a little bit more than he already was, I guess, but they hadn't really phased him. And he got a tummy bug. And so he was just 2 when he got the tummy bug, and he went on full strike again. No food was safe, and I could see it happening before me. I could see the refusal. I could see the vomiting, and the sort of in his mind, like, that's what it's done. It's done that to me. And I was quite concerned after about 8 hours of vomiting, because he was refusing to take water. So we went to the ED, and we were there for probably 6 or 7 hours, and at that point I was just syringing sort of 3 mils of water every 5 or so minutes and just seeing if he kept it down. And he wasn't keeping anything down, so they gave him something at the hospital. And they said, look, you know, just keep all his fluids clear, keep his food clear. And I said, okay. And we went home, and I kept syringing. He got a little better with the medication, but I kept sort of syringing and just really taking notes on what he'd consumed. And then the following day we were moving. So he was a little bit better in the morning, and then the afternoon came and he just was a vomiting mess. So that was fun moving. And we ended up getting to the new house later that evening, and I sort of thought, should I just, the car was packed to the brim, I said, should we just stop? Should we go to the hospital? I sort of thought, no, they keep telling me he's fine and that kids get viruses and they can go without food for a couple of days. So okay. And I came home, and the next morning he was still quite unwell. He was still refusing water. He was still refusing food. So I made an appointment with the GP, and I noticed he was just getting really lethargic. And I'd been to the hospital a few times already, so I knew that his blood sugar levels could be a concern. So we got an early morning appointment at the GP's office, the new GP. I hadn't been to him before. And he said, my son was laying like limp in my arms. He said, oh, he looks okay. Like, kids get sick. They don't want to eat when they're sick. I said, no, it's different. He's a chronic non-eater, and he's a selective eater. And when he does eat, he doesn't eat very much. So he doesn't really have the capacity to go several days without eating. And he said, look, he looks fine to me. And I said, he hasn't drank or ate. And I showed him, like, so I've been keeping notes on how much he had eaten and drank in the last couple of days. And he said, if he's really only had that much, then you should probably go to the hospital. But I'd take a book because you'd probably be there for a while. And spun his chair around and started typing on his computer. And I sort of sat there waiting for him to say something else. And he looked at me and he said, like, off you go. And I was just so in shock at that point. Like, I just, all of a sudden, just had tears just streaming down my face. I just was so unbelievably shocked that this child was obviously so unwell, and still I was being dismissed, and still I was being questioned about, is he really eating that much? Like, for someone to take this seriously, like, what has to happen? Like, does he have to die or something? Like, so I got in the car and I called my husband, who had now picked up the tummy bug, so he was very, very unwell. And I said, look, you know, do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm not doing, like, do you think I'm overreacting? And he said, honey, if you think that he's sick, take him to the hospital. He said, don't worry, like, just take him. So I started to drive to the hospital, and on the way there I called 13 Health because I just didn't know what else to do. And as I'm on the phone, I was on hands-free, and as I'm on the phone driving, she said, I need you to check him. Can you pull over and do that? And I thought he'd just gone to sleep. And I sort of squeezed him, and I said his name. I squeezed him harder because he didn't even flinch. And I squeezed him super hard and almost sort of shook him a bit. And I just started screaming at him. And he wasn't waking up. So I just started hysterically screaming in the car. And at that point, she transferred me to the EMTs. And I realized I'm in a new area. I don't know the road I'm on. I don't know the name of it. I don't know how far I am away from anything. There was nothing but trees because we moved rural. And he came around, like his eyes sort of opened up and flickered at me a little bit. And I was still sort of shaking, and the ambulance is saying, you know, where are you? We can come to you, but you need to be able to tell us where you are. And at that point, I didn't think to look at Google or drop a pin. I just was so frantic. I said, the only way I'm going to get him there in time is if I drive. And I just jumped back in the car, and I just drove, and I just was screaming at him the whole way, like, stay awake, look at mummy, just stay awake. And we got to the hospital, and I arrived, and he was like sort of conscious, but his eyes were sort of flicking open and shut. And I went up to the nurse and said, my child is really sick and I need help. And she said, okay. So she rushed me through, and she got the head of the pediatrics department to come down, and she took his bloods, and they were at 1.2, so they were significantly low. And from there, he basically called 2 teams to the resus room and escorted us there, where they fitted him with a drip. They gave him several tubes of glucose, and they just sort of said, like, what's been happening? And I was just at the GP's office, like I was just there, and he told me he was fine. And I said, look, he's a chronic non-eater. And he said, okay, well, kids like this, they don't have the same sort of store in their liver, so they you know, some can last a little bit longer and some can't. It's really dependent on the child. So we were there, I think, for 2 days, and we went home at 5 o'clock on the last day, and he'd done pretty well. He'd started eating. They gave him something for the nausea, and he'd started eating again. I think the glucose really picked him up and sort of really made him quite vibrant again. But for the first sort of 24 hours, he was so wiped out and so diminished. And I just remember being so angry with myself for not getting him there sooner. And they said, look, you know, he's responding, he's eating little bits. They said, you know, if he wants apple juice, give him all the apple juice. They said lots of kids like this, things like apple juice and stuff, will encourage them to drink. And I said, oh, you know, should I be watering it down? It has a lot of sugar. And he said, at this point, him drinking a litre of apple juice is better than his kidneys shutting down. So he said, you know, give him this juice, give him all sorts of things. So we came home, and the following sort of 2 to 3 months were he was basically back to square one with eating. While everything that I made would have been previously accepted, and he knew that he could eat it because it didn't hurt him in the way that I made it. Like, I obviously made it free from the things that he couldn't eat. He was just terrified of food again. And so we started the process again, and he responded much quicker this time. I guess because maybe I was more skilled with the techniques, or maybe he just, in his little mind, he maybe remembered that maybe it was okay to eat. So I guess these days he eats something at every meal, which is wonderful. He's eating strawberries and stuff like that, which he's now able to eat, which is really, really positive. So his gut's become a lot stronger, and he's started, we've done a couple of soy trials, and we've done a couple of dairy trials, and they all sort of went downhill. And I sort of said to the pediatrician, I don't want to do anything that's going to put him off his food at the moment, because his weight did drop quite significantly in that sort of week period, and then for the following months after that he dropped slowly a little bit more and didn't gain anything. So I think he's back down to probably the 5th percentile. But he is still growing, and he does have more energy than any other 2.5-year-old I've ever met. So I guess that's a blessing. But every day is a little bit of a struggle to get him to eat something, but he does eat something. And he's up to about 20 foods that are accepted, which from 2 foods or 0 foods is amazing. It is amazing. So I guess that's been our story, and that's been our process, and I guess that's who we've seen to sort of help us or not help us with the process. I will be doing more posts on the tips from our OT and speech pathologist, and also the intolerances and the journals we kept, and how we sort of worked out what he was intolerant to what he wasn't, and how that affected and even triggered his reflux. We've currently been able to halve his reflux medication with little to no ramifications, so that's really positive, and I hope to have him off reflux medication altogether within the next 6 months. But right now I'm just trying to get him to build his little fat stores up and not lose any more weight. So yeah, that's our story, and if you want to hear more about the other topics, please subscribe or comment, or let me know. Thank you.